been able to handle it, we would have been a little farther ahead than we are. But in that 10-inch pump like that, certainly got the power to do it. Yeah, but unfortunately, that came with a price. Rick has been able to pay off his royalties for the year to Troy, and is starting to feel better about this year's haul. Despite beginning his season 2 weeks later than everyone else, he is proud to say that he and his team have been moving along very well, and have been working at full capacity. They have their hopper feeder in place, and are working through their pay dirt steadily. His goal of 1,000 gold ounces for the season is more urgent than ever now that he has a clear path ahead of him with no debts hanging over his head. The failure of last year cannot be repeated, as he failed to meet his goal and barely broke even. Rick plans to put some gold in the safe as the gold prices have shot way up. This is great. I mean, 206. Oh, that's awesome. If we just keep going deeper in, that's just going to get better. That's the next challenge, right? He needs to turn things around this year or find a new career. After past failures, Rick commiserates with his other crew members, saying that the past year felt like they were moving dirt around for fun rather than mining for gold. The past 4 weeks have been spent making their way through the cheap cut, where the gold is all found on the highest layer of dirt, practically sparkling in the sun. As they reflect on their mistakes and their work this season, they identify their biggest problem for this year. Their newest recruit, Mark, informs them that they are almost out of pay dirt from the cheap cut. This means that they have no pay to feed the wash plant, Rocky, and no gold to collect. Even the new guy knows that with only a day's worth of cheap cut pay left, they are going to have to look for new ground to mine. As an experienced gold miner, Rick knew that this was a problem that would come up sooner rather than later. So Rick has been looking for a new area to mine. This pressing need for more pay dirt has fed the drive to explore the area and find new ground to mine. This urgency and success in the cheap cut have renewed Rick's passion for gold mining. He believes that his many years of experience have given him an edge and skill for this kind of gold and pay dirt prospecting. As Rick stands surveying the land, he points out piles of dirt that he feels could have the gold. The best gold content they've ever encountered. He points out a corner in the area that he has high hopes for, noting how all the dirt is piled up together. But why does he feel that way? Well, 20,000 years ago, on Lower Duncan Creek, a glacier once pushed up a mound of rock and dirt, known as a moraine, to the edge of the cheap cut. Rick believes that this blockage has trapped gold all up against it over the centuries, all gold that is washed down from the mother lode. If his theory is right, he has stumbled across a buildup of gold that has been growing for ages. Rick gathers the dirt and rock from where he believes the glacier created the moraine and puts it in his panning bowl. His belief is that this could be the best gold they've found all year. With the price of gold only increasing, he could make some of the largest profit margins in recent memory. He carefully pans the dirt in the nearby water and determines that he needs to see at least 15 to 20 distinct colors in the pan to make the area a viable location. Extending the cut is a decision that could make or break his career at this point. You pull that big rock out of there? I did. 2 of them building Stonehenge here, where you start hitting those big boulders like that. It feels like you're in the right spot. The Ness crew at Duncan Creek is busy extending the cheap cut, trying to determine whether Rick's hunch is correct. Mark keeps adding to a stockpile of pay dirt meant to keep the wash plant running. They cannot afford to shut down. However, a problem arises when they lose water pressure over at the wash plant. This is extremely frustrating, as it feels as though the team is being delayed and set back every single day, unable to catch up. The leak in the water pump is quickly spotted, and they realize they have to shut down operations for the day until it is patched. All of this downtime is a huge red flag, so they decide against fixing the leak and instead replace the water pump entirely. Carl brings in the backup, and they hurry to install it with the help of a crane. The replacement, however, won't start up, causing their hopes to come crashing down. Rick needs to calculate whether his decision to extend the cheap cut will pay off. Before getting to the numbers, Rick makes small talk and eases the tension in the room. Part of being a leader is tending to one's subordinates, and that's something Rick doesn't forget. Finally, they get down to business, and Rick pulls out the scale to reach their gold weight. Rick would need an ounce of gold per 100 yards from this extension of the cheap cut. They have run over 7,000 yards, and Rick needs at least 70 ounces from this venture. The gold is carefully poured onto the scale, and it measures well over 70 ounces, reaching 82.375 ounces. This means that Rick has mined $144,000 worth of gold from the cheap cut extension. His hunch, combined with his knowledge of the history and geography of Alaska, has paid off in a big way. This is Rick's biggest haul of the season. Everyone is left amazed as they have never seen such a good cleanup with their own eyes before. Rick reflects on how they never came anywhere close to this last year. It seems that his theory about the moraine was proven correct, and he found an amazing cache of gold. At this point, it's only numbers like that they kind of have to keep going up. Rick is confident, saying, "No, there's a lot more of it out here right on this property. A few more hauls like this, and their season will go very smoothly." It also eases concerns that their late start in the season would irrevocably destroy their chances of meeting their gold ounce goal. It's barely September, and the weather has turned colder, covering the land in snow and slowing down operations for the team. This is a warning that the end of the season is around the corner, despite everyone believing they should still be experiencing autumn weather. Rick is upset, as he believes his wash plant, Rocky, should still be running at this time in the season. However, after helping him bring in his biggest gold ounce haul of the season only a week ago, his wash plant, Rocky, has shut down unexpectedly. The weather will not allow water to run through the machine without freezing and disrupting the equipment. This didn't stop the team, but the more they tried to push the wash plant, the slower it would go. The longer lengths of time it takes to use the wash plant end up costing them more time and money than just shutting it off. Rick comes to the hard decision that Rocky is done for the year, and now all efforts have to be focused on their second wash plant, Monster Red. While Rick understands that striking out on his own is risky, he thought the rewards would be worth it. A lot of people doubted he would be able to succeed, to survive on his own like that, but so far Rick has been able to prove them wrong. However, now with one wash plant down and the weather getting colder by the day, he is starting to have doubts. This is only his third season on his own after leaving the Klondike and finding the big gold in the mountains. Rick has invested $250,000 deposit to purchase his claims, but the end of the mining season is creeping up, and he still needs 550 ounces to reach his target of 2,000 ounces of gold. Over the walkie-talkies, Rick gets a message asking him to check out a situation the crew is having with water. Rick races down to a massive pond of water where his worker is meant to be smoothing out the area. He tells him that they are going to need to get a pump to remove the water and give them access to the pay dirt below. After digging for over 2 months, the Ness crew are 170 feet down in the Raleigh Valley. "We finally got our hopper feeder in, and I paid off Troy his royalties for the year, so that feels really good. This valley is completely filled with water, making it impossible for their equipment to traverse. The high-grade pay in the Raleigh Valley is something that the entire Ness crew is relying on to save this season and career. The 6 feet of water is a huge obstacle that will take time and money to remove. The pump is working, but the valley has only flooded out again, even with the work put into clearing it, setting them back even further than before. Rick's pump is only 6 inches and is no match against the estimated 6,000 gallons of groundwater currently flooding the valley. The water is leaking into the cut every moment. They realize that their plan is ineffectual and that the water pump doesn't work correctly either. Rick remembers that the Taylor crew have a 10-inch water pump sitting somewhere in their own equipment stash. The only issue Rick can recall is that it has not been used for a couple of years. Their next step is to plumb up the hoses and place the equipment into position. Rick is worried since he knows they don't have much time left and they need to get to the pay dirt as quickly as possible. The only thing standing in the way is the water. Chris, a member of the Ness crew, explains that now that they have the 10-inch water pump, they will hopefully get this water cleared and the land dried out soon. Rick managed to drill the hose into place and Rick tells the crew to fire it up. And to everyone's relief, the pump turns on. Powered by a giant 465 horsepower dozer engine, the pump is said to be capable of emptying an Olympic swimming pool in just 70 minutes. That's around 660 million gallons of water in over an hour. Rick points out how they can see the water being sucked out from feet away, and the hose spits out gallons of water in moments. This is a huge improvement compared to the wimpy 6-inch water pump that only made the flooding worse. Rick believes that when they arrive in the morning, the valley will be ready to be sled and the dirt relocated. The ability to shift their attention from the water back to the gold is a good sign. They are making progress with this season's gold ounce goal. I don't know why I'm so nervous, Rick admits. It's the first one of the year. You seem a little giddy, someone remarks. I am. Well, alright, I can't talk anymore, gotta go do this. Let's make it rain, boys. The next day, Rick greets his crew in the break room in higher spirits than before. They have lost 2 days fighting the flooding in the Raleigh Valley, all while trying to avoid letting the recent cold weather freeze them out of the rest of the season. Shutting down operations at this time would be disastrous. It is crucial that the Raleigh Valley delivers the gold they need. Rick is still reflecting on where things went wrong and regrets that the first water pump did not work, as it would have saved them a lot of time. That time was wasted on bringing in the second pump and installing it. While they are grateful to have found the second pump, Rick reveals that it came with a price tag. He spoke to Troy, and Troy didn't mind lending the water pump as long as Rick was willing to purchase it outright. With no other choice, Rick had to pay $40,000 for the 10-inch water pump. This expense sets them back even more, as they now have to calculate the amount of gold needed to cover the cost of the pump. However, nobody is too upset about the news, as the pump was desperately needed, and they wouldn't have been able to find another in time to dry out the Raleigh Valley. Rick pulls out a water bottle filled with gold and says he believes, based on its weight, that they have made quite a bit of money. He is confident their hard work and the purchase of the pump will pay off. Then, he takes out another water bottle filled with gold, which he says is worth